Night on the diamond for the Noles. I'll touch on it momentarily. What a bizarre ending. Tough loss for USF. Oh, well, suck it. And good times. Bright and early this morning with my brethren on the beat as we watched Florida State take the field for the final of the Tour of Duty workouts. That's not for the faint of heart. I got to tell you, sometimes I watch workouts and I become the curmudgeon, the old man that played many moons ago and say, well, back when I played, these workouts were tougher than this, I can tell you. No, I didn't think that this morning. I thought this morning, this looks like a bitch to get through, is what I thought. And those guys were putting in the work, putting it in, and they have my admiration. I already know they're better athletes, but the work ethic and the toughness there, it was on display. And I think they got to be proud as a staff that that's where they've gotten to. This is where you want it to be. I'll document that momentarily. It's not just the caliber of the athlete that they now have at most segment groups and the depth of that talent, but also, again, the minds of the veteran players who have put in the work and arrived at this place and now pass it on to the new groups of kids, whether they be transfers or the freshmen, which, oh, by the way, plenty of impressive young lads in this freshman class as well. And maybe I wasn't expecting that. I think all eyes are always on the transfers and the transfer portal. But a lot of guys in that freshman class that I came away very impressed with and thought they're going to get something good out of those guys. And some guys that are kind of the modern athlete, especially when you look in that secondary, these hybrid players that have all of this length, they're borderline too big for the position, and you kind of look at it. You kind of look at them in the way that you looked at Jalen Ramsey when he arrived, when you went, "Oh man, that's different. Can he really run? Can he flip his hips and go at that size?" And we have some guys that intrigue me in that way. I'm not saying any one of these guys is going to be Jalen Ramsey. Obviously, he's been an elite corner in the league since he arrived. But I do think you have some athletes and some guys that will open your eyes and get you excited about watching them play football. The women fall and get upset and blow a lead. I did see that earlier. That ain't good. They blow a lead. That game tipped off at 11 a.m. this morning in Greensboro, and with all that we were doing, I was not watching the 5-12 matchup that was Florida State versus Wake Forest. And we had Tanai Latson didn't play in this game. She had an undisclosed injury. That is a problem since she's by far and away your best player, not even close, maybe one of the best 5 players in the country. Florida State led 34-16 at halftime, Tom. Now, first of all, 16 points is embarrassing for a collegiate basketball team of any caliber to be playing and scoring in a half. But that's what they had. And then here we sat in the second half, and 65-54, Florida State does nothing in the second half, and good night, Irene. They lose, they're out of it. So we'll see what ends up happening for their NCAA tournament, which starts on March 17th, and what they'll be seeded. But that's a bad loss. Everything else has been good news. Everything else has been good news. I don't want to hyper-focus on this. That sucks. Don't do that. That's embarrassing, but it happened. So there you go. You're updated. Now, let's circle back. Let's start with baseball last night. So many things to touch on here, and believe me, the bulk of the show is football, kids. Bulk of the show is football. We're just at the top here. At the top, we recount what just happened. And what just happened was a rather improbable win. And you can't discount these. It doesn't mean that they're going to, again, go on to have a season for the ages or something worse where you think, why were they in this kind of a battle with USF? Wherever you sit on this. It's a baseball game. It's a midweek baseball game. And I drew a ton of positives out of this, even before the comeback win, Tom. There were a lot of factors that I liked about this game before Florida State had to make the comeback and before they blew a 3-0 lead in the middle innings or any of that stuff. And I want to start by saying that I thought that Jamie Arnold looked good, really good. I think that's important. 36 pitches, what amounts to a short bullpen session, basically, which is what he would have thrown anyhow. I think, obviously, you want to create – we talk about competition all the time, right? Trying to compete for that rotation, the weekend rotation. I thought he went out there and kept the ball down, most importantly. I thought his off-speed pitches looked really good. He spotted the fastball just fine, so I thought that was important. I really thought David Barrett was cruising along looking good until you saw that John Montez dong, a massive dong at that. That was sizable. Not sure it's landed. Followed by a double play. Rank looked lost. I mean, a double in the gap. Rank looked a little lost out there in center on that play when he went careening into the wall. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm a tough judge, but I didn't look that hard to play. But anyhow, that we saw some things start to fall off there. Oxford came in, gave up the RBI single. And then I think the highlight of the night for me was Whitaker's 7 Ks in relief. They asked that kid to throw forever, and he amassed 7 strikeouts before getting tired. My man Tibbs, Tom, he has an AB or 2 every night they play. Last night, obviously, he hit a 2-run dong right off the bat. That ball was crushed. Later on, worked the walk. He's a professional hitter in that lineup, and I will watch his ABs lovingly because I think he's going to play Major League Baseball. He's a fun player to watch swing the bat. Compact, smooth to the ball, short to the ball, barrels it up, understands the strike zone. Really cool to watch. I know Ferreira continues to hit. He by the way, had to lead off last night. They shook up the lineup, have to, because of injury, and right away hit a single. So, these are all good things. Florida State had a lot of good ABs that led to that problem with the shortstop at the end. You got even Titan, who ends up striking out, has a really good at bat. I mean, you're making that kid throw 36, 37, 38 pitches. And so Nander does, he basically hits a glorified pop-up, but it falls in between a bunch of people. USF has to feel pretty victimized, snake bit, if you will, by the bloopers that fell last night. There were a few.
Well, I don't know where the hell their center fielder was playing. Was that no doubles in a 1-run game? I don't get what that defense is, because that would be managing to not lose the game on an outfield hit rather than just playing the game.
So, by the way, you can bring that up. I know they lose by a run. Well, go back to the run they gave up in the first inning when the center fielder's back is against the wall.
Yeah.
On a ball that's bloop singled as well. That was a carry-on single that had no business falling.
I don't get what that is. That's a really tough play for the shortstop. He got there and should have made the play.
Yeah, catch the ball.
Oh, I felt bad for him. That's a toughie. That's a tough situation there.
It sucks because your center fielder's not played properly. That's fair.
Yeah.
What's also fair is that hit the middle of your glove.
Yeah,
catch the ball, man.
The thing to me is it's a midweek game and you got some good. You had to spend Crowell on a Wednesday, which I don't love, 50-plus pitches ahead of a Friday. But what Link said after the game, which I think this is the most important takeaway for me, he said he's going to manage to win a Wednesday and not worry about a Friday. And I find that fascinating.
I don't think that's true.
Well, that's what he said.
Well, I don't think it's true.
Okay, he's a liar. We'll move on.
I don't think he's a liar. I don't think you ever managed to lose so you can get away with it with semantics.
Well, why would you pitch Crowell for 50-plus if you're not managing to win tonight?
You're managing to win games, but he's probably figuring Crowell can pitch on Saturday and Sunday. It just depends how they want to use.
Boy. Maybe because it's Gulf Coast and it's not, a top 25 team in the country playing on Friday. I don't know. But it's just spending that guy on a Wednesday is an interesting use of his talent, given that in the previous weekend series against TCU, he pitched on Friday for an extended stay and it was unavailable the rest of the weekend. Now, perhaps if the score is different in the latter innings on Sunday, you see him.
I think so.
I'm watching Wyatt Crowell. His usage matters to me because at this point, Arnold's performance is buoying for a true freshman. That's good to see.
Really good.
But at this point, you trust 3 arms right now? Maybe 4? Maybe 4 on that whole staff, including starters and bullpen. And Crowell is number 1 or number 2 that you trust.
Well, I think that he's still figuring a lot of that out. I mean, you had freshmen and others come in there and get asked to throw 30-plus pitches. He's figured out who's what. You know how I look at the regular season. I don't really care all that much about a regular season record. I get it. I want to be a top 8 national seed if we can be. But I think you got to know your personnel and know exactly what they are by the time you get into the ACC tournament and then on into the postseason. You got to know how a guy is most effectively used. I think you got to know exactly where they shine, where they're uniquely gifted, where you can get the most out of guys. So I don't. It'll be interesting. I look at it a lot of ways. So, for example, like a freshman like Lance Triple, who gets to start, right? You're going to do things like that in these games. You're gonna throw guys out there that you're like, all right, well, let's see what he does.
Oh, I agree. That's largely what midweeks are for. But I'm learning something about Link here. If you're willing to spend you don't see that very often. That your top guy out of the bullpen is going to go for an extended stay in the formative moments of a weekday game ahead of a weekend series. Now, if they do this against Jacksonville later in the season or somebody else, UCF before an ACC series on the weekend, then we've got ourselves a trend here. It might just be because it's Gulf Coast Friday through Sunday, but I mean, on a Wednesday night, okay, I noted.
Jacksonville beat Florida last night, buddy. You gotta bring it when you play JU. And USF had to come back win against Florida.
USF's been good for So they were what did they make? The first weekend, the second weekend, maybe the Super Regional a couple of years ago?
They've been good before. They've got a little something there. And they should. Look where they are. There's no reason for that program to stink. They ought to be good. They got to be frustrated as hell all time against Florida State, because even when they've been good, they haven't had the best of it against the Noles. And again, last night, they probably thought, well, we're going to get this game, get this win, get that first out in the final inning. You're sitting there feeling pretty good. And then, man, I love those long at bats. You work out a situation, you end up getting a walk, and, that changes the complexion of the inning. And Florida State had several guys with really good at bats. Rank with the grade AB who worked the walk changes things in extra innings at that point. Now you've worked the walk and you've put pressure on, and it's exciting. So Florida State gets the win last night. Back to the football, and I want to dive right in, and we'll deep dive this. So we'll take a quick break here because I want to go through and talk to you guys about the transfers, talk to you guys about the freshmen, and look at some guys that were coming off of injuries and how they fared as well, and give you overall big picture stuff of what we saw today in the tour of duty workouts and what we're most excited to see as we get set for spring. Tomorrow, the kickoff luncheon, or the luncheon for the spring, the start of spring football, in which we get to talk to not only the head coach, but also all of the assistant coaches. So I'm looking forward to that as well. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3, Real Talk Radio, and Warchant TV.
We understand how important it is to have transportation you can rely on. So no matter what the road ahead brings, we'll be there, offering you and your family the support that's made Farm Bureau Insurance a trusted name for over 70 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise.
I'm Andy Cohen with Florida Farm Bureau Insurance. Please call me at 850-671-FARM.
Motorcycle accident? Call Fasig Brooks Law Offices, 777-7777.
Hey Tallahassee, it's Sarah with Seminole Auto Glass. You're probably driving right now, which means you're surrounded by glass. Did you know that each piece is made differently? Your windshield is 2 sheets of glass with a thin plastic in between. This allows it to take an impact without going all the way through. Side and back glasses are typically tempered. This strengthening process is what allows them to be shattered in the event of an emergency. Regardless of the glass or how it breaks, we can help. Trust your local auto glass experts. Seminole Auto Glass, proudly serving the Big Bend for over 15 years. Better call Seminole.
This is Kyle, Service Manager from Barano Heating and Air. Schedule an appointment from your mobile device to learn about our Total Comfort Service Program. With guaranteed same-day service, 15% off necessary repairs, and $25 berry bucks to use towards air filters and other products. Turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air. Any day, anytime, anywhere. Online at baranoac.com.
Florida license CAC 1816-186.
Leaky faucet, busted pipes, clogged toilet? M&L Plumbing is here for you. For all commercial, construction, and residential plumbing issues, call M&L Plumbing at 575-9393 or visit online at mnlplumbing.com.
There's nothing like relaxing in a hot tub after a long day. But if you don't have one, you're truly missing out. Hot tubs and spas have tremendous health benefits, besides just helping you relax. Like improving your sleep, they help with pain relief. They help to better your cardiovascular health, and so much more. And this season is the perfect season to finally buy what you've been wishing for. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patio, and Spas has the hot tubs you need for the price you want. Come shop our huge 12,000 square foot showroom and save today. There's over 50 hot tubs in stock right now, so you won't have to wait weeks on end for that delivery to finally come to town. If you're ready to relax, we're here to show you how. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patios, and Spas. Come visit our huge showroom at 2473 Greer Road with over 50 hot tubs to choose from. You'll be glad you did.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future. We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
The Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
Indoor practice facility and an opportunity to hear from Coach Norvell and Josh Storms, the strength and conditioning coach, after the workout. And you can tell they're pleased. I took copious notes, as did Tom Lang and Ira Chappelle, and the guys on took notes too, but he was holding a camera, so he couldn't do as much note taking as possible.
It's actually impressive. He was holding a laptop in one hand with the camera.
Yeah,
while
he was.
That's pretty impressive.
So depending on how you began your morning, where you were standing to watch, they separate the groups. But one of the first things that stood out to me was Jaheim Bell, number 6, the transfer from South Carolina, who you think certainly adds an awful lot to this tight end room. And his versatility is something we're excited about as well. But when you look at him body type wise, he looks like he belongs in an NFL locker room. And the reason I bring that up, we'll see if he plays a really high level of football. I think he will. But when you see his athleticism and his build, you are reminded of what guys look like in the National Football League. He's something. And watching him run and watching him work out, especially in the first half of workouts this morning, he sort of jumped off the page, if you will, to me. And I think, and by the way, go ahead. You're going right to the next guy I'm going to mention. I see where you were going, because I'll tell you something right now. Jeremiah Byers is different. That is a massive human being, but more than a massive human being, he is a guy that can move, can really move. Great feet. He kind of glides for a guy that size. You're not accustomed to seeing that. He too stood out very quickly to all of us in attendance. You want who's 63? Got to check the roster again. What are these guys' numbers? They're forever changing their numbers, first of all. Then you have all these transfers that come in. Who the hell is that kid? That man. He's a monster and he moves. Well, it was Byers. And he looked really, really good. You're going to catch sort of this tired, familiar refrain from all of us that talk about where this team's at, what that roster looks like, who these players are, what we think they portend to be. And it's part of the larger discussion that I get excited about, which is that a few years ago, I had to fight not to be overly negative walking away from practice, walking away from the tour of duty. A couple of years ago, I thought, my goodness gracious, it's never a good sign when you can easily pick out the 2 or 3 elite level athletes on the roster. They jump out. You can't miss them because they're surrounded by guys that are substandard for elite football and when Florida State is operating at peak efficiency. Nowadays, that is simply not true. every few seconds you look up. Who's that? Well, that's Keziah Holmes. That's the running back you haven't seen. Well, he's big and can move too. How about that guy adding to the running back room? Who's that? Who's this corner that's so fluid? Oh, that's the Fintrell Cypress kid. Absolutely fluid. Looks the part. Then you're looking around and you're saying, who is number 24? Well, that's KJ Kirkland. He's a freshman. He looks like a linebacker. Who's built like that and runs like that at that age? I did that quite a bit. Hell, I did it with Quindarius Jones. Look at that kid. You're not supposed to look like that as a true freshman. So, again, we're talking about guys that, we're going to see them put on pads. We'll get an opportunity to judge them in a much different role. There's Kyle Morlock, if you're watching on the screen right now, a lot bigger than he was at shorter, Tom. He's a lot bigger. He is already put on a good amount of weight, a good kind of weight, from the picture that he took when he was here being recruited to where he is now. That's a different looking kid. Looks like he's aged 2 years too, by the way, which is a good thing. He almost looked like a baby the first time we saw him. And then you look at the man weight that he's put on and the hard work he's put in the gym. That kid, he's big enough. I wondered about that coming from a small college. How would he look the part? Would he look right when he got here? Yeah, man, he looks the part.
Looking forward to having a discussion with you as we go, player by player throughout the days and weeks to come. Right now doing the little photo scroll thing. But I will say, since you brought up Morlock and since he's on the screen, very, very impressed with fluidity, polish, and then top-end speed. Those three things. As they were going through drills, there are certain drills that won't tell you a damn thing about what a player can be on a football field when there's actually a game going on. But some of these drills today for receivers, running backs, tight ends, corners, they show your lateral movement, the Matt Millar lateral speed, and then also just your overall 0 to 60 athleticism, things like that. Morlock was fantastic and looked very much the part of a polished veteran in that regard. I was impressed with what he put out there.
Yeah, I mean, there are guys that you see in this group. If you go back to, let's go back to the freshmen for a second. Two different types of freshmen that roll in here right now. And, there are those that have the requisite thickness, if you will, to maybe see some time and get on the field and contribute right away in a limited role. You'll find guys that you say, well, body type wise, he can handle it. KJ Kirkland, for example, can handle it. You look at him and you think, yeah, he can handle that. Hakeem Williams, you start with your 5-star wide receiver looking like a grown-ass man, a big body type, every bit 6'5", really moves. Absolutely, you could see him contribute right away in an already deep receiving core and one that you're excited to watch continue to grow. He's a guy that right off the bat. Meanwhile, my opinion, you got a kid like Lamont Green who's got a long way to go. He is an athlete. We're excited about what he can become. I can't fathom him being on the football field playing college football this season. He's going to have to get a lot bigger. I mean, a lot bigger. He's small. Lucas Simmons. Okay, so Lucas Simmons, of all of the guys you bring in, is a guy that a lot of people seem to have the most certainty will play professional football because of that height and that reach and that lower body. He's massive in the trunk. He's got the long arms, big giant kid with quick feet. Going to have to get a lot bigger, a lot stronger up top. Now he's got that trunk that'll help him in the games against lower level teams that he'll play in, but he's got to get a lot bigger up top.
Yeah, that bit in the third Austin Powers where he's on the shoulders of Mini-Me and he's walking around as the doctor?
Yeah.
Well, Lucas Simmons is the opposite of that. So take that idea and flip it. He's done the hard part. He's developed in the area that you would be most concerned about
as a lineman. Yeah,
as a lineman, you can't uproot him. It would not appear.
He's big
very easily. Seeing how strong he is in his base gives me hope that he can play right here, right now, this fall with some work in the weight room. Obviously now and in the summer, if he could develop it all up top. But he's every bit of 6'8". Sometimes you look at these listings with a jaundiced eye. But Quindarius Jones, KJ Kirkland, Lucas Simmons. When you see these guys in person and you see the listings for the defensive backs at 6'1" or 6'2", and Simmons at 6'8" at 300 pounds, they're all carrying the weight that is listed. I didn't get the sense looking at anybody that, oh, man, that's just an outright lie. And that happens on football teams at times where there's an exaggeration. Simmons towers over everybody else in that segment group.
He's a monster. The thing is, you're right. He can play. I just like that they won't need him to. I don't think they need him to. They've got so many plus bodies on the offensive line right now. I think that's the thing to get most excited about. Now, I understand when you think you only have a guy for that best 3 years, you want to get him out there and maximize him as an asset and what he is. And they're going to be blowout games where you'll be able to play him. But I don't think you'll play him more than the 4. You know, maybe you would because you're saying I don't need to shoot him anyhow. But I mean,
well, if you do, it's because of merit, and that would be the good thing.
He's going to have a hard time because I'll tell you this: they've got tackles, and I would point out everybody that Julian Armella is bigger too, quite a bit bigger. I thought. I don't know what they list him at, but I was really surprised at how big he looked. He was already an athlete. He is already quick-footed. We loved his mobility. He's a bigger dude all the way around this year.
Well, you're taking a look at him combined with the transfers, and you're thinking, yes, sir. I mean, this has the potential to be a mean, mauling offensive line. And if you don't mind, indulge me. Can I pull up the photo of Casey Roddick?
Yeah, he's a giant human.
I mean, sir.
I mean, what are you going to do with that, guys?
Just the reach to go. He's not the tallest guy in the world. He is every day an interior offensive lineman, but he's got a wingspan, and he is a dense dude.
Yeah, it's actually troubling. I mean, look at if you're watching this show right now instead of just driving around, if you're driving around, go back and pull it up on YouTube later on. And if you have to, forward to the 45-minute mark so that you can see Casey Roddick getting low here and running. And imagine a guy with those legs deciding he's had enough of you. I mean, good luck with that. What are you going to do with that? It's frightening.
And his arms are almost as big as his legs, his upper arms. It was alarming when I saw these I put it out. It was one of my tweets this morning. One of the few was just looking at all these new offensive linemen. It is a discovery process that I am jazzed about, sir.
Listen to me. I get, you guys know that I've been fairly, not I don't know about pessimistic, but I've always been quick when we're on these runs of glowing praise to make sure that I point out, yes, that's true of this guy, but we don't have enough of him. Yes, that's true of this player in this segment group, and I think he's a difference maker and a game changer and can play anywhere. The problem is behind him is just another guy. I would always do that because I knew we were growing to where we want to be, that we were trying still to put together classes, and whether it be transfers or freshmen or whatever it might be, to where you could look around and see the kind of intense competition needed for real growth, but also to endure injury, to have quality backups that when they play, the consistency with which you have to play to be good teams doesn't fall off a cliff. I'm always trying to point out the other side just so we're honest, because even in years where we think, I think they could win 8 or 9 games, you're still talking about the ACC, and now where my goal is. Now I'm comparing and contrasting us to Georgia and Ohio State and Alabama, because I want us to win national championships again, and that's their goal. That's what he has stated. I mean, they want to do that. So when I look at the roster now and I talk about them looking impressive, it's because they're more akin to those programs. They're not there yet. They can't be expected to be there. But they're in a place to easily back up last year's 10-win season with a very impressive campaign. And if they stay healthy, they could win the conference certainly and maybe make the college football playoffs.
Where I get giddy thinking about practice because, look, it was an upgrade last year to see rotating with the 2s, sometimes with the 1s, depending upon injuries. You got Dimitri Emmanuel, whose status is still up in the air to see if the waiver will be granted for him to be still a member of the team, and a young Josh Farmer, who I think has done some good work in the weight room to get stronger up top. But, that was a matchup head-to-head where I would say, all right, things are getting better. And now I'm just thinking about Byers or Roddick against Darrell Jackson from Miami, and you're just going up another level. that is another level of head-to-head competition in terms of sheer size, strength, and mass when you get to watch one-on-ones, and I just can't wait for it. I wish they were starting tomorrow. All due respect to the 10 coaches we talked to,
They
I prefer.
start Monday, Tom.
I know, but after watching today, I think about these trench battles, and sir, this is going to be a hoot.
Well, and you brought him up. I should have brought him up earlier too. I got carried away, but this is kind of a wonderful illustration of what we mean. You brought up Darrell Jackson. Holy moly, guys! I said today in the stand-up with Ira that this is going to be a team of hurt feelings. You've got guys that have played an awful lot of football in their young careers that I'm not so sure are going to play an awful lot of football this year. I think the competition, you look at several of these positions, you could have new starters at both left tackle and right tackle. You could have a new starter at guard.
Yeah.
Well, you will have a new starter at guard.
Right.
You are going to have a new starter.
Well, yeah, and you could have both if Emmanuel's waiver isn't granted by default.
Yeah. So you're going to have a new starter. You're likely going to have a bare minimum of 3 new starters on the offensive line. There's a chance of that.
Look, it's plain and simple. Robert Scott is on notice, not as much as the next 2 names, Darius Washington and Maurice Smith.
Oh, yeah.
You're on notice.
Oh, buddy.
I mean, Keandre Jones is not somebody that we're mentioning yet as potentially in the rotation, but that dude is as wide as he is tall.
Yeah.
And I think he's standing next to Byers in one of the photos, so I'll scroll it back up for those watching on Warchant TV. But that dude is massive, 75, kind of hovering in the background there.
Yeah. No,
if you want to go straight beef, you can. And on the flip
you can
side
bully
of it,
people in short yardage situations in a way we haven't in years.
But if Maurice and or Darius win the job in the fall, that means that their game has been elevated to a level that they wouldn't be pushed to without these dudes being on campus.
I'd be surprised if both those gentlemen win their job.
I would too.
I don't think they will. We'll get into this. I mean, we can just predict all we want. I mean, it's only our opinion about what we think is going to happen, and we've got a lot of football to view in the meantime. And we don't know what's going to happen. But that's the reason I'm so excited. If you said in a nutshell, what are you most excited about? It's that they've got a bevy of really talented, big, strong dudes on the offensive line. I mean, that competition is going to be intense. We have not had an offensive line that looks like this and has as many bodies that look like this in maybe the entire time that I have covered the program. Period. Going back to 98. I mean, I don't remember this many monsters that can really move, really good feet. So we got to see him put on the pads, but a lot of these guys already have footage. You've seen them play SEC football. You've seen them play big-time college football. They got guys, man. They've got guys that have played the game.
So I'll pull up one more photo. I know I'm driving the director nuts with this stuff because of the switching around. But here it is of Jaheim Bell and Keziah Holmes running side by side.
I was duly impressed with both.
And there's a question from Go Knowles. The questions from a lot of you, and we'll answer them in the coming days, maybe even today before
Keziah looked great to answer Go Knowles' question. He looked great.
And Coach Norvell said he was coming off of a stomach bug, so he wasn't at 100% today. But again, if you've got that offensive line that we're talking about, and let's say it's a goal line situation, you want to go 6 offensive linemen, you got Marqueson on the end of the line. You don't even have to if you don't want to. Jaheim leading the way in the backfield with a guy like Keziah or Trey Benson. Either one will work.
Benson looked fine.
And he looked fine.
Yeah.
And then you got Johnny split out wide. That is something where on 3rd and 1 and the world knows you're running, you stand a chance against the good defensive lines that you're going to face.
A really good chance. You know what I thought about Keziah since he was brought up? I mean, this running back room is one that we're very impressed by, and you don't have a lot of worries. And you saw the emergence of Trey Benson last year as kind of a bona fide star in this league, and maybe he'll be a star nationally. One of the things that I liked about Keziah is I think he gets that to get the kind of reps he wants, he's going to have to just throw himself into this thing over and over and over again with a want to that cannot be ignored. That was brought up today by Mike afterwards when he said that he's been dealing with a stomach ailment, and yet there he was out there on every rep. before he brought it up, I had noted it in this here notebook. I had written it down that he had stepped up as a guy that whenever they needed somebody back in the drill, he could have just come off the field and he went right back out there. This is what competition is. This is what it does. It forces you to, as Mike said, go to the brink and then take another step because you want to be a part of something special.
Well, the good thing I like, and this is where social media can help give you a window into the team. Keziah had said something about having a breakout season on social media and that he could be akin to a Trey Benson. And Trey quote tweeted and said, show the world. So that room is in a healthy, I like seeing evidence of healthy competition, not destructive to the culture kind of competition.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And so that's where coming into this season with the locker room in a good place as it was can help you as you usher in newer players from the high school ranks in the transfer portal that are commanding a pretty penny to arrive at Florida State, which is always going to cause some kind of tension. But then also to say we're doing this for the betterment of the team because what's been inherited from last year is as, I think, kumbaya of a locker room as we're going to see in the Mike Norvell era. It's got to be a little bit more cutthroat as time goes on, but it's coming from a healthy place, and everybody seems to be at this point willing to share the rock. And if Keziah emerges as your second guy, then you're all the better for it. But look out, Rodney Hill got a lot of praise from Mike Norvell today as well, and he looks like he put in a lot of work in the gym.
They all do. They all do. They have not been shirking their responsibilities in the gym. I think this is the closest evidence we have that this is gearing more and more towards Bama table type chatter. And I've been waiting on it for a long time. It's just good to see. We get a lot of questions in the chat. I'm trying to answer all of them. Some of them we did earlier. To answer how Armello looked, Mike, he looks a lot bigger. He was already big, and he looks bigger. So, again, we're just adding to the number of guys who already showcased something that got you excited a year ago. Good feet, great size, whatever it might be, toughness. And we're talking about what they've done since we've seen them last. In many cases, it's get a lot bigger. So, the competition in that offensive line, if you're Alex Atkins, you've got to be so excited. We have hardly even brought up the guys that were here last year, putting in the work and learning what is expected of them, but they weren't quite ready to play, that were already on the roster, that were part of that recruiting class that we liked from the offensive line. Those 5 offensive linemen that we brought in that he referenced in my interview with him, they're not wrong. By the way, Estes looks huge, and he's moving just fine. So he's going to throw his name in the hat in the ring for one of those interior offensive line spots as well. You want to get into a position where it's so hotly contested, we are all debating each other about which guy on a given day has the lead. Let Alex Atkins work that competition out. Obviously, we trust him at this point. Got a lot of people to work through.
How about an offensive line with a combination in certain places of Robert Scott and Armella and Byers and Roddick, and then best available, DeAndre Jones.
He just got so many dudes.
That is,
it's funny to watch. We've just got. By the way, Bless Harris looked great today. Good to see Bless Harris back.
What you
out
know
there.
about Bless Harris?
Right. That's right. I almost went over and said, "Look at how Bless came back from the injury, looking strong, moving well. Can't overlook my man Bless Harris. He'll be in the competition.
Maybe now at guard because we have some tackle options."
Jeff Cameron Show 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
A red Jeep flipped over after colliding with a semi-truck at the intersection of North Monroe Street and Old Greenbridge Road Wednesday morning. The wreck occurred after both vehicles ran red lights just after 10 a.m. The incident shut down all southbound lanes on North Monroe Street. The driver of the Jeep reported minor injuries but declined to be transported to the hospital for care. FHP reports no injuries to the driver of the semi-truck, and both vehicles had a passenger. They were both uninjured as well. The Tallahassee Police Department is investigating a shooting that occurred early Tuesday morning in the 1900 block of Lake Bradford Road. 2 male subjects exchanged gunfire around 3:30 a.m. Upon arrival, officers searched the area and located 1 male subject who had sustained a non-life-threatening gunshot wound and was actively fleeing the scene. The subject was not forthcoming with information and was transported to a local hospital for treatment. At this time, no arrests have been made and the investigation remains ongoing. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 Local News Update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. A wind advisory begins at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning and continues until 10 p.m. tomorrow night. Chance for scattered thunderstorms this afternoon. Otherwise, cloudy skies. Highs around 81. South winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Cloudy tonight, 67. Chance for scattered storms again tomorrow, 81. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 78.
Gee, honey, I'm not gonna lie. Our front yard is looking sad. Don't you think it's time for some TLJ?
I'm pretty sure you mean TLC, and I don't have time for all that work.
No, I'm talking about some TLJ, like in the radio commercials. Give your yard some TLJ from the Lawn Johns.
For all your lawn care and landscaping needs, give your yard the TLC it deserves with some TLJ. Call the Lawn Johns today for a free quote at 322-2567 or visit thelawnjohns.com.
My man Eddie.
Jeff, what's happening, dude?
Bears eating people all over the place. I read another article today. It's the third one in the last month of somebody getting mauled to death by a bear.
Man, bears have their own space.
Well,
you got to let them have that.
You do. You got to stay clear of bears, is what you're saying?
Yes.
I got a question for you. Here you go. If you had to be mauled to death, eaten alive by any animal in the world, which would you choose to eat you alive?
Ooh, I think maybe I'd want, I don't know, longevity time, a mouse.
Just a slow burn.
Slow burn.
This thing just finished the pinking. It's been a month.
I could go to work. I could still do my thing. I could probably live 30 years.
I thought you were going to say great white because it'd be quick, or a grizzly. We went with mouse.
Yeah, mouse.
Okay. Mouse it is.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Welcome back to the Jeff Cameron Show, sponsored by Legendary Home Loans, a mortgage experience designed around speed, simplicity, and customer service. Before you buy your next home, contact our friend Shannon Young with Legendary Home Loans. Visit FSUHomeLoans.com. FSUHomeLoans.com.
Missed it, you can go find it there. I thought it was fun. It was enjoyable. Thanks to everybody who chimed in and listened in and watched that play out. Our guest did a good job. Connolly did a good job. David Hale did a great job as well. And I kind of put David on the spot a couple times. Could we sue your employer, David?
So that he and Andrea Adelson co-authored a long piece this morning on ESPN.com relating to this very issue. And it seems like, and he said as much last night on the live show, that if you ask administrators off the record, you might have quorum here to take a vote on moving on because this is not tenable. But that's very different from on the record. And it's also very different from finding enough homes for different programs in this conference to get to the 8 necessary to be in a good place.
The conversation has started. It had already started, but now it's started in a public way. And I think we go back to that over and over again and realize that once that begins, it's unlikely that the team that started the very vocal complaint that the situation is, in fact, untenable, that team doesn't typically hang out for the long term. How to get there, what's possible, how soon, what would have to happen, the legal wrangling, all of those things are up for debate. You'll get a variety of opinions from lawyers, from journalists, from coaches, and from administrators. We don't know. School presidents, you name it. Nobody knows for sure. But I think we do know that they got the ball rolling. That's what started last Friday in front of the board of directors. What was done there was to begin the conversation, the larger conversation about what has to happen or what they would like to happen. And again, depending on your point of view, your perspective, if you're from North Carolina, if you're from the Northeast, if you're from Miami, if you're from wherever, you probably see it a little bit differently. Everybody's going to look out for number one. Everybody's going to have a bias in the way they view this because they went to school somewhere, or they root for a school, or they cover a school, or they live in a region. And that's true across the country. So not everybody's going to look at this the same way, but I do think we can come to an agreement. I think David was certainly understanding of that when we had the discussion last night, that if you're a fan of the ACC and you want to see a long-term viability to the conference, and I don't know who that is, but let's just say there's a person who is waving the flag of the ACC. Perhaps they're best friends with John Swafford. If that were the case, then you hated what just happened. You don't want to see what just happened, because you know that is highly unlikely that once that conversation starts, that something could be remedied here. They're not in a position to remedy it. And the salves that they continue to talk about and apply, which is that, well, maybe we can give a little bit more money to FSU. Maybe we can give a little bit more money to Clemson. Really, it's chump change. It's chump change. You get me an extra $3 million. David brought that up last night, that some of the schools behind the scenes have said, yeah, maybe we'd be willing to part with that. Wake Forest and schools like that are saying, yeah, maybe we'd be willing to part with that because we don't want to have to leave here. This is a good deal for us. As I said, this TV deal between ESPN and the ACC is only a bad deal for about 4 teams. It's an okay deal for 2 teams, and it's a very good deal for the rest of them because nobody wants their ass. They don't drive ratings. They don't change or move the needle or do anything. So they don't want to see all this thing fall apart. But even if you're willing to acquiesce or concede that, I mean, what are we talking about? When you're making $42 million and somebody's about to cash in $70 million, man, and you have to compete with that year in over year in, a year out, you're dead in the water. $3 million isn't going to change a thing.
Yeah, and that's where it gets down to the brass tacks of looking at the precedent of how the Big 12 was exited by Texas and Oklahoma. The precedent set there was $50 million for 1 year per school against future earnings. And if you look at that right now, that would put Florida State at $650 million to settle beyond the payment to the ACC of $120. Now, they might combine that down. You asked the question, I know it's been asked on the boards a lot about, well, couldn't ESPN just move Florida State from one place to the other and we don't have to pay the chunk of change for the grants of rights? I think the ACC would sue anyway, and so therefore you've got a problem on your hands in terms of litigation.
Yeah, they're going to want their money.
Everybody, and whether or not they have reasonable grounds to do that or not is immaterial. If you still got to pay the lawyer and the law firm, then you still got to pay them, and that's going to be a cost out of your pocket. So Florida State's trying to avoid that clearly as much as possible. But if you do the quick math on that, as we get 3-4 years from now, if nothing changes, I believe the cost becomes palatable to Florida State, where you could cut that check as long as it's against future earnings and you don't have to pull it straight out of a crazy ass money order.
Well, you couldn't do that, and you would pay it off over 30 years. You do all that stuff. Yeah, but I will just say this too. Last night I suggested, and I don't think it's far-fetched. I think that David didn't want to talk about that, and I understand why. He's employed by ESPN, but also we don't know the answer to it. I'm not saying it's plausible, but I think if you're the ACC and you believe that ESPN orchestrated these super conferences and that they're the reason that Texas and Oklahoma left the Big 12 and went to the SEC to strengthen their deal with the SEC. If you believe that's true, that they've been the puppet masters, you could absolutely sue saying that you went in with a lack of good faith. You know we can't compete. We're dead in the water, and you already know it, and you've orchestrated all of it, so no, screw you.
But you don't necessarily want to do that to the place that's going to pay you on the other end of the equation, or one of the two.
I'm saying the league could do that.
Yeah,
I'm talking about the league. I'm saying
they're not going to help us.
But they would help themselves if they're about to watch this thing get dissolved.
I in theory agree, but I agree with David's assessment that the league is probably worth what they're giving us. I think if it were to bear out, not much more. I don't know that there would be much more in the way that, an arbitrator would rule in the ACC's favor compared to the SEC and the Big Ten. When you talk about eyes on sets, we just don't have them.
No, we don't. I'm saying that the ruination of an entire league was orchestrated by ESPN, by its master.
Yeah.
By virtue of the future dissolvement of a league and the lack of monies that you have to be able to compete is enough to take that to court to say, you never negotiated in good faith here.
Dissolve the contract, but I'm wondering if it would just be part and parcel to an arbitration of awarding more.
Maybe, yeah, you could be right.
If it look, anything that helps us get out and dissolve the thing, do it.
Contract. Yes,
do it.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
And they would take a settlement lower than the total amount if you wanted to cut a check today or reach an agreement today. But the question is, what is the number? It's the question for everybody in any business. What is your number? And Florida State hasn't reached it yet, or else we'd already be out.
Correct.
Or we don't believe that we can without incurring incredible amounts of legal fees, or else we already would have done it.
Again, I continue to root for chaos. I continue to watch very closely what the Big 12 is going to do, what the Pac-12 does with that contract. What is that number? Is it something that would see other member institutions decide it's time to ride as well, just like UCLA and USC already did? May very well be for a program like Oregon. If you're talking about programs that get to that magic number, we talked about the number that Mike Alford referenced in terms of television viewership. Was it 4 million? The $4 million people games? What was the number where he's talking about? The amount of viewers.
Might have been 3.5.
I think it was 4.
Sure.
I think there was 14, something like that. On the other side, we get into it. Sorry. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Joe, Java, Brew, Go-Go Beans, Brainwater, Liquid Lightning, Wakey Juice, whatever you call your cup of coffee, you're missing out if it's not Grassroots Coffee. At grassrootscoffee.com, you'll find an easy way to order the best roasted coffee beans available. It's very simple. Choose the blend you want and how you want it ground, and the bag you receive will have the date your beans were roasted and packaged on it, all written by hand and signed by the roastmaster himself. You'll know that's as fresh as it gets. You can get Grassroots outside of your house also at some of your favorite restaurants in town. Next time you're out to eat, try asking for Grassroots Coffee by name, because there's a good chance they will have it for you. And if you own a business, Grassroots Coffee has options to stock your break rooms with all the productivity powder your team needs. Plus, like some other options that you'll find at work, Grassroots Coffee actually is a part of our community. Get to grassrootscoffee.com today and get yourself a treat. Some locally owned, locally roasted, and locally loved Grassroots Coffee.
Hi, this is Jamie McClenny from Trek Financial in Tallahassee. Managing downside risk in your portfolio is one of the biggest challenges that you'll face in retirement. Trillions of dollars in stimulus from the Federal Reserve and D.C. politicians, combined with zero interest rates, have propped up financial markets since the financial crisis ended in 2009. The Fed recently ended quantitative easing and has started to raise interest rates at a time when the global economy was already slowing. Have you considered what another 50% correction in the stock market would do to your retirement plan? If you're concerned about where this all might be headed and would like to find out about the potential benefits of an active risk management strategy for your portfolio, give me a call at 850-900-5200 and schedule a time for a review of your portfolio from an active risk management perspective.
Make Jamie your first call for a second opinion. Investment advisory services are offered through Trek Financial, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
This is Patty Wilson.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're ready.
He's recording.
Why are you always saying your last name? It's Patty and Scott. Everybody knows
know that.
Patty and Scott.
I don't know. This is Patty Wilson. I am Patty Wilson.
What is the idea behind said promo?
It's for Patty's Playhouse. We're on Patty's Playhouse Saturdays at 11. Tune in. That's stupid. Just tune in. Saturdays at 11. Patty Wilson, Patty's Playhouse. House talk with a happy ending.
Each and every time.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Right at Tallahassee. The latest betting odds and live movements from Vegas. This is your action update. Now here are your latest lines from our guys in the desert.
The Arnold Palmer Invitational tees off today at Bay Hill in Orlando with 44 of the top 50 in the official World Golf Rankings participating. The world's number one, Jon Rahm, who has won 3 PGA Tour events in 6 starts this year. He's plus 650 to win the event. Defending champion Scotty Scheffler 9-1. Rory McIlroy also 9-1. The NASCAR Cup Series at Las Vegas with the Pennzoil 400 this week. Kyle Busch 6-1. Kyle Larson 7-1. Ross Chastain and Joey Logano both at 8-1. Tampa Bay Lightning at $1.65. Home ice favorite against the Penguins today, plus 145. 6.5 over the total. Sign up now for your free VSiN subscription at vsin.com/subscribe. For more sports betting news and information, go to vsin.com. Mike Sennett, Real Talk 93.3.
Sponsored by IBM. IBM is transforming how it engages with business partners through the launch of IBM Partner Plus, a single integrated program to help deepen partners' technical expertise, accelerate time to market, and win with clients. New and existing partners will experience a transparent, simple, and modern program anchored around 3 pillars: competitive incentives, insider access, and enhanced support and benefits. Partners can grow skills, develop solutions, and build sales expertise using IBM technology. Kate Woolley, General Manager, IBM Ecosystem.
We are introducing IBM Partner Plus, a new program built hand in hand with our partners to help them gain skills, grow faster, and earn more. By offering access to the same education, programs, and hands-on training that IBMers get, we are better equipping partners to bring the power of AI and hybrid cloud to our clients.
For more information, visit ibm.com/partnerplus.
If you're hearing this right now and you or someone you know is active military, a veteran, police officer, firefighter, nurse, or a teacher, turn up the volume and listen to this. My friend Shannon with Legendary Home Loans has a hometown hero loan program designed to make a difference to those who make a difference. When it's time to buy a new home, he will waive all lender fees for all hometown heroes. That's a $1,600 value right out of the gate. Also, if you decide to use their preferred title company for their closing, you'll be saving another $600. That's $2,200 in discounts right off the top. That's like 20 tanks of gas in your car. And today, more than ever, it's important to save as much money as you can, wherever you can. So if you or someone you know is active military, veteran, police officer, firefighter, nurse, or a school teacher and looking to buy a new home, choose Shannon Young, Legendary Home Loans, and ask about their Hometown Heroes program. Call 844-FSU-LOAN or just visit FSUHomeLoans.com. That's FSUHomeLoans.com.
Equal housing lender. NMLS number 2270146.
The weather is unpredictable and can cause issues around your home. Weston Trawick provides commercial, residential, and industrial electrical wiring services, yearly inspections on fire alarms, portable generator sales, and so much more. With 24/7 emergency service and repair, Weston Trawick will be your calm in the storm. Give them a call at 514-0003. Weston Trawick. Professional electrical services day or night. Visit online at westontrawick.com.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Broadcasting live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
This morning, great coverage today of the tour of duty as they wrap that up. A lot of guys really relieved today. Now, not that they're not about to embark on a lot of hard work, But from what I saw today, if that was what was going on the regular, they're about to have a much easier day of it when you're at practice. That was tough, and I give them credit. A lot of big men out there running an awful lot. Those two don't usually go hand in hand. 300-plus pounds and running a lot. Not a great marriage if you happen to be one of those big fellas.
No, and I don't think all of them loved it.
I saw a couple guys hovering over the garbage can. Saw a few that were hanging in there, just barely. And I had Charlton, who's lost some weight and looks good and is moving well. But I got to tease him a little bit. They were moving from one end of the field, from one end zone to the other end zone, because on our indoor practice facility field, it's 100 yards, Tom. You can run a full 100 yards when you switch sides. Miami, it's a lot easier if you're big and 300 pounds and tired. You don't have to run nearly 100 yards, just 60, 65 yards. You're right where you need to be. So watching him have to switch, and Norvell happened to be at an angle where he knew he was being watched. So he couldn't just up and stop, even though he looked like he was on the cusp of puking. So he gave him the old, look at my arms pumping, coach, while my feet are shuffling. The feet are shuffling, not even a brisk walk, but the arms are pumping. I'm at least giving you the illusion that perhaps I'm just that slow. I'm trying, but maybe I'm just that slow, coach. Don't yell at me. And that's not a knock on the young man. He had been hustling. He had been getting after it. He had just finished a rep when they blew the whistle. And so in addition to the rep, he now had to go 100 yards down the field, and of course was told repeatedly on the hop, which was the last thing on earth he wanted to hear. So he gave him the arm shuffle. We've all done it. We've all given you the arm shuffle. We've had to do it. The little shimmy to try to pretend that you're moving.
Yeah, I may have seen a guy or two do 3 push-ups when they were asked to do 5 when the coach turned around, but these workouts are absolutely criminal, and it's awesome. It's awesome to see. Like, even for the walk-ons, the regular Joes, like, well, maybe you were a college athlete, the regular Joes like me who just really want to be a part of what it is to be a Florida State football player and the thankless thing that is being a walk-on player. Watching those dudes go through it, like,
well, you appreciate them is what you do. Yeah,
only for you guys, because you are next to preternatural athletes,
freaks,
who are
freaks,
absolute freaks.
Yeah,
and here you are. Yeah, are you going to complete it as fast? No.
I will tell you this: that most of the walk-ons, though, Tom. Sorry, I to your point, though, I get excited about this. I always have great appreciation for guys like that. Most of the walk-ons are guys that were really good players in their high school. They were probably pretty dominant where they played. They were all good athletes. It's just that they're next to freaks. You're right.
They are, and they look more like us. They look more like the regular folk.
You can relate to them a little bit more.
I can. And when they go through that for an hour to an hour, 15 minutes, you're just, wow, kudos to you guys. And it is a brutal hour, one in which, though, you can see, it's common sense. You put 2 and 2 together. It doesn't take very long. But I'm walking out to my car after it's done. I'm like, man, they handled that a lot better than they have in years past. Well, why do you think they have handled it better? Because they've got more athletes who can handle this kind of rigorous training more naturally.
Without question. It's the story that we keep repeating and that we're most excited about. It's one that never gets old. If you're listening to this and you don't care about Florida State football, you roll your eyes and you probably move on. You probably, okay, look, how many times are you guys going to say that the roster is now filled out in a much better, more competitive manner than it was a year ago, than it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago? Yeah, but in theory, just so you know, that first of all, radio audiences flip out, change, completely overhauled every 15 minutes or thereabouts. Secondly, it's the show is central thematic to FSU sports. So yes, but also this is a change. This is news. It is newsworthy. They are a program that just won 10 games, who will be preseason top 10, top 15. And they are a program that is now going to, I think, vie for some of the more high-profile stature of the game. Like, that is to say, they're going to be in the conversation for much of the year as to whether or not they're a college football playoff team. They're going to be one of the 2 teams picked by the media before ACC kickoff to win the ACC. There won't be another one. It will be Clemson and it will be Florida State. That's it. Nobody's picking North Carolina. Nobody's picking Miami. Sorry ass. That's it. It's those two teams. That's it. So they have now put themselves in another realm, and they could fail. It doesn't mean they're guaranteed to have success, and it doesn't mean that they're going to go on and continue to be upwardly mobile. But the observations from us at practice today, and certainly when we get into it on Monday, when they start to really go in earnest at spring football, will be about that. We'll be judging against that curve. It's a different level of expectation, and the only way you have those expectations are if you had a product on the field last year that warrants high hope, and then two, if you have the level of athlete and depth of athlete that creates competition at the highest level, that might very well lead you to have those successes that are the hope of this fan base. And I think they have that. I think we're documenting that. I think we're pointing out one by one, player by player. If you just want to look at the transfers, all right, I'll go one by one through all of these guys. Jaheim Bell looks like an NFL football player. Darrell Jackson looks like he's starter to me. Oh, by the way, the interior of the defensive line, they're going to have 5 guys, in my opinion, that rotate in there. Now they're just figuring out which of those guys get the most amount of snaps. But they're going to rotate those tackles. You got 5 of them. It's going to be a bitch to get out there. You're going to have to fight like hell because you've got real talent at that position that you haven't had before. Gilbert Edmond has to get bigger. I think he will. He's a guy that they're excited about. He's got a great frame for it. We'll see.
Yeah, I would say he's marginally larger than Derek McClendon at present. Just to put an image in people's minds. They happen to be running together in the same group today, so it was a good, easy comp. He's a little bit taller and maybe a little bit longer of a wingspan, but very similar build right now to Derek McClendon.
You can help me out on this one. I did not get a good look at Jaden Jones.
I didn't either.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to go back on that.
He's also coming off of an injury.
Right, so I think that's probably why we didn't see him. All right, Ventrell Cypress, fluid, looks the part.
Yes.
You've already seen him play college football at a high level. Shouldn't surprise you to know that those guys look very, very good.
Yeah, there's a presence about him.
Keziah Holmes, we talked about last hour, a big, thick running back who's going to add a lot to the room. Braden Fisk, I don't know how much, is my opinion. I don't know how much we're going to see Braden Fisk in the spring. Remember, he's coming off the injury. He's also a 6-year defensive tackle. I don't know how much he needs to be in spring. I don't know how many times you're going to listen to a guy tell you to get low. So, he'll be all right. Just get healthy. He was out there, but you're not going to see him, in my opinion, getting as many reps as some of the other transfers. I'm going to cough, you whistle.
All right. Well, I can tell you that the Tampa Bay Lightning lost to the Florida Panthers 3-1 last night.
Go. Okay, I'm back.
2 nights ago.
Had to get that cough out. Byers, we can't stop talking about it. My goodness gracious.
Yeah, I didn't see him before somebody remarked, and it was Ira who said, "Hey, have you seen Byers?" I said, "No." Go find him.
63. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the first. He along with Jaheim Bell are the first 2 guys that stood out to me. I went, holy moly.
I came in on the defensive field because the photo and video was only allowed on one half. So I looked at the freshmen and I saw Quindarius Jones and also KJ Kirkland immediately. And those 2 guys
Kirkland,
jumped off.
he jumps off. Yeah, really quickly. While I'm still on transfers only, Casey Roddick, we already talked about. Mountainous. I don't know what else to say.
That is an interior offensive lineman. Just as Lucas Simmons, and I know you're sticking to transfers, but just as Lucas Simmons looks like the prototypical offensive tackle, Casey Roddick looks like the prototypical interior offensive lineman. It's a wondrous thing to see.
26 was Keziah Holmes to answer the question. Yes. Keandre Jones and Kyle Morlock wrapping it up. We've talked about both already. Both look really good. Morlock is bigger than I thought he would be, which is a really good sign. He's an athlete. He's big and tall, a thicker lower body than I thought he'd have, which is very exciting. Means he can get out there and play right away and make a difference. That tight end room is transformed.
It has.
If everybody's healthy, it's transformed.
In short order. And here you go. Take your victory lap. This is the second time now there's been somebody on record breaking down the tight end position room, player by player.
Who did they not mention?
And Brian Courtney's name was not brought up.
Not even in the slide.
They went to now Jackson West has been brought up twice with Alex Atkins, and I believe it was Josh Storms before Brian Courtney was relative to the tight end room. So they talked about Marquiston and Powers and West, but no Courtney.
Yep.
There you go. Take your lap.
I'm not taking a lap. I want the best for that young man. And the best may be him playing linebacker. I'm just going to continue to mention that.
What did you think of Omar Graham today from what you saw? Because, again, that's somebody who was – you weren't asking about Omar Graham. Adam Fuller decided to bring him up in your one-on-one interview and say that he's got high hopes and designs for him in the coming year.
Yeah, I don't know. He didn't stand out to me in any way. I didn't think I don't mean that in a bad way.
I thought denser looks like it looks like an interior linebacker
fire
type.
plug kind of guy. Yeah.
Yes, what a great word for
fire
that.
plug is what he looks like to me. Yeah, there you go. I guess I do have an opinion. I have a fire plug. Hakeem Williams, yep, every bit the 5-star that now on to the freshman guys. Hakeem Williams, every bit the 5-star that but okay, see now I shouldn't even look up at the chat. Go Noles FSU. I have been saying for over a year I thought Brian Courtney should move to linebacker. I believe he looks like a linebacker. I believe that he's never going to get on the field as a starting tight end. And so I said that. And then Tom and I have had this running gag. The more that the time goes by, the more that he's, we'll see.
I'm telling you, he's the next Luke Kuechly.
I didn't tell you that at all. I said he should probably switch positions. And then anyhow, I gave Tom a look today when, for the second time this offseason, you smiled. You knew
I
where,
did. I was like, oh my God. Because Storm's listed 3 dudes. He's like, and the guys who are still here. Hold it, not just the transfers.
Yeah, didn't mention a certain somebody.
But, Mark Heaston and Darrell Powers.
Well, you should mention
Jackson
Mark
West.
Yeah, you should mention
Jackson.
Well, I don't know why I mentioned Jackson West, but anyhow. Brock Glenn's a quarterback. He's not going to play this year.
One thing
he looked whatever
on Hakeem real quick. Really raw in the elements of running routes. I don't think he ever had to.
He's just bigger and stronger than everybody.
His strides. So I watched.
He's a grown ass man.
Probably 8 dead sprint reps as part of what they were doing the drill. His strides cover between 3 and 4 yards a step. It's crazy. When he puts his foot in the ground moves. It's the strength to go along with, again, another freshman whose height is not exaggerated. He's listed at 6'4", I believe. He's every bit of 6'4", 6'5".
Yeah, he's a big kid.
Yep.
Quindarius Jones and KJ Kirkland both impressed both of us. Very, very excited. Big guys.
They can play, but they
look the part.
The modern size.
I didn't see the Jacobs kid. I didn't focus in on him. The other freshman.
Gray Jacobs? I saw him.
Yeah,
19 wide receiver.
Yeah.
He was in the same group with Hakeem. He is much more polished in terms of the lateral. He has to be. He's not as large of a human being.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He was having a rough go out there, though. Freshman. It's tough to get acclimated.
Some of the freshmen, without question.
And that's not to say that he wasn't, again, like with Kanaya Charlton. It's not an effort thing. It's just that, it's a wake-up
kicking
call.
his ass. DeMarco Ward, I didn't see a lot of.
He was there. There was a photo of him.
Yeah,
I didn't notice, but he was in the black jersey today. So it's, with all these different jersey colors, it's hard to keep tabs.
Lamont Green has to eat and then eat some more. And when he's tired of eating, should eat some more. And they should wake him up in the dead of night the way they did Robert De Niro for Raging Bull and eat some more. Lucas Simmons, great feet, needs to add upper body size. He is a big dude. His trunk is unreal. He's quick with the feet. He's just got to get some size. Well, he's 18 years old. It makes perfect sense. So that's fine. It's projecting nicely for him and a marriage to the National Football League at some point. He is a prototypical tackle.
If the pizza place was still there in Tennessee, I'd say go get Pokey Sticks, like 6 orders a day, and then work that. Work
you gotta
that
get that
out
upper body. Yeah, you just gotta get to the gym and work that upper body, man. He's got those long arms, hard for those guys a lot of times, but he's got the legs. He's got the legs and the feet for it. Those guys that have been coming off of injuries that we were looking at very closely, gotta be careful about how I talk about this. I won't get too in depth with those guys, but most of the players that were either injured at some point last year, coming off of surgery, or some guys that maybe missed some time, all looked great. Winston Wright looked great, really moving, planting without any problems whatsoever. He's strong. Joshua Burrell looked really strong. He was mentioned by Mike Norvell after practice, so I think it's important. If the coach brings it up, I can bring it up. He was moving well.
Yeah, the the right issue, I think, has been put to bed. Winston looks like nothing's happened in the past to him. He looks like he's completely fresh. That's a sight to see, because late in the season last year, when there was talk of, well, could he make it this weekend? He was not cutting on that side of his body, on that leg, with any confidence.
No, well, and how could you? I mean, that was a serious injury, a series of injuries that he had at the car wreck. It's a lot. Good for him. Everybody rooting for him. I get the sense, by the way, not only that everybody's rooting for him, he's a good kid, he's put in the work. You know, folks are they're really rooting for Travis Jay. It comes up all the time.
Still looks the part.
He's every bit the athlete he's been since he's been here. And I just want to mention this. I love these kinds of stories because they're very rare. And this is a personal note. I really want that young man to have an opportunity to get into games and have something good happen to him early and get his confidence back. Because, and I don't want to get into too many details here, but, you know, he was with the team last year, okay, but he couldn't play. And to practice every day and not have an opportunity to play in games is really difficult because, you know, you're watching it. Practice is hard. Football is hard. Of all the sports, and I'm saying everybody, you know, if you're going to be any good at anything, you got to practice really, really hard. You got to put in the time. You got to do all those things. I'm not saying that people don't do that in soccer and in baseball and in softball and tennis and all the other sports. They do. Football, and as a guy that played a ton of sports, football practice sucks. It sucks. I hated it. I didn't hate baseball practice. I didn't hate basketball practice. I hated track. I didn't like running the 440. That's a lot of running. I didn't like it. But I didn't hate other practices of other sports that I played. Didn't hate them. Hated football practice. It's brutal. It's brutal. It's 100 freaking degrees in Florida. It's humid. You're in pads. People are beating on your ass. It's difficult to do that every day and never to be able to play. And I don't mean it as in, hey, it's, you know, somebody else's fault. That's on him. But to not be able to play and to stay committed, and maybe it's not your favorite thing in the world. I'm not talking about football. I'm talking about the other aspects of being a student athlete. Maybe that's not your favorite thing in the world. So now you got to go to practice every day and do this other thing. And you do it and you stick through it and you come out the other side and you're still here battling. Yeah, man, I want you to succeed. I want you to do well. I think his teammates feel that way. You can tell the coaches do. It gets brought up. Why else would they bring him up? Maybe it'll happen. Maybe it'll happen. You got a new set of eyes taking a look at him.
This is just going to be interesting, and it's probably a topic for another day, but just throwing it out there now. With all these battles that are going to take place this spring, I wonder who's leaving after spring. This is the era of the transfer portal after all, and I feel like there's a changing of the guard at some, pun intended, perhaps for one position group, but you're seeing a different class of athlete coming in, and it's a healthy thing to see because we all want it from the high school ranks. That's the ultimate goal, right?
Yeah.
For example, you take a look at Hakeem Williams, and then I look at some of the guys that were in the rotation last year, and I'm not talking about Micah Pittman, who's, you know, he has his own role, which is kind of more over the middle of the field, but against like Kentron. And Kentron's not a bad athlete. Kentron, by the end of the season, turned into a very good wide receiver. But when you just look at the difference between the two, I'm thinking, man, and that kind of concept can be applied to many different position groups as we go down the line. I just wonder, after all these battles are settled, are guys going to say, I've got no chance to earn reps, and then they go? Or do they stick it out for the full season? I think that's going to be a talking point coming out of spring.
In the era of the transfer portal, I think it's just completely reasonable to suspect that there are a lot of guys out there today that are not going to be here in the fall. I'm just telling you, I said this is the camp of hurt feelings. I'm going to tab it as such. I think it is. This is a camp where, look, man, coaches' jobs are to put the best players on the field. They have to recruit over you. They could recruit you. You could be highly regarded as a freshman. And now you go into your sophomore year and you've done everything right. And there's a guy that they can bring in who is your same class, but he's a better player and he can start right now. They're going to do it. They're going to do it. And in some cases, you're seeing that. You're seeing guys, you're like, well, you've been here 2 years, partner. Time's up. I mean, they got some dudes now. I don't know that you're ever going to see the field. The time has passed you by in some cases. And they may not know it. They may not know it. there are other guys who very clearly can see they're not that same caliber of athlete. They're not that same player. I think if you're, I'm not going to talk about any specific person, but if you're a guy who's been here a couple of years, and whether it's because you've had injuries, for whatever reason, it hasn't worked out, maybe you've struggled with the system, I don't know, but you haven't seen the field, and now you look around and there's 2 or 3 guys, one of which is younger than you, and they're all ahead of you on the depth chart, and they're all putting in that work, and they're all better athletes, you need to take it on down the road. You're not going to play. You're just not going to play. And I think you're going to see several guys come to that conclusion.
Well, maybe you get a free trip to the playoff this year.
Yeah, no, listen, and I'm never encouraging somebody to just give up on their dream. If your dream's to play at FSU and you think, look, I just got to ratchet it up, maybe I'll get an opportunity. Yeah, maybe you will. Maybe you will. But there are some guys you want to put your arm around. You're like, man, it ain't going to happen. Now, you can wait it out. Nobody's going to make you leave.
It's not your fault. We brought you here.
Yeah,
it's not your fault.
We assessed it wrong, or we didn't have options. We didn't have options. It's the Chris Rock bit. You're only as faithful as the options that you have. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Wooden Glass has been taking care of families since 1945.
Experienced, reliable professionals who offer only the best, like Wooden's top-of-the-line bath enclosures. Eye-catching storefronts are a specialty at Wooden Glass, and they provide precise installation.
Wooden Glass, Tallahassee's first family in glass. Online at woodenglass.com. Call 850-222-5781.
Injured? Call Basic Brooks Law Offices, 777-7777.
We understand how important it is to have transportation you can rely on. So no matter what the road ahead brings, we'll be there, offering you and your family the support that's made Farm Bureau Insurance a trusted name for over 70 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise.
I'm Andy Cohen with Florida Farm Bureau Insurance. Please call me at 850-671-FARM.
Hi, this is Justin Colvin, founder of the Medicare Help Desk. I routinely speak to seniors who are overwhelmed by the multitude of coverage options available to them. That's why I created the Medicare Help Desk radio show. Tune in every Sunday at 11:30 a.m. where I provide clear answers to all your questions about Medicare.
Tallahassee's 30-year-old funny paper and American Legion Post 13 have joined forces to become Major Morale. The new magazine has 4 more pages of post activities and military information that you probably never knew. But don't worry, it's still as politically correct and newsworthy as always. Okay, it's the same funny stuff, but it's still only available at the sponsors' locations like Tallahassee Automobile Museum, Krispy Kreme Donuts, Keith Lawson Services, or ABC Flooring. Tallahassee's leading supplier of in-stock, top-of-the-line ceramic, carpet, waterproof, and hardwood floors since 1990. At ABC Flooring, you can pick out your floor, and installation can begin in 48 hours. ABC Flooring is also the leading supplier of in-stock landlord property management products in the Panhandle. Visit their warehouse showroom on Capitol Circle Southeast or call 877-6600.
Hi, Chris Kraft for the Kraft Brothers dealerships. If you're getting a tax refund, you're in luck. Kraft dealerships have the perfect storm for you to buy your next car. New car inventory is at a 12-month high. And the Kraft New For You program puts people with dings in their credit into brand new cars. 4 to 5 people with credit issues qualify for our New For You program. And all new and barely used vehicles from Kraft, Nissan, and Infiniti come with a lifetime warranty. And at Kraft, lifetime means lifetime. You can keep your car for 20 years and drive it hundreds of thousands of miles. It just doesn't matter. And the absolute best reason to buy a new Nissan in February is this. We're bringing back 0% financing. That's right. Qualified buyers can get 0% interest on Nissan Rogue, Pathfinder, and Altima. Or get $1,500 in loyalty cash when stepping into a new Titan or Armada. The best deals in a long time on our best sellers. So before you start shopping other car lots with a weak or no warranty, high interest rates, crazy high car payments, come into Kraft Nissan or Infiniti of Tallahassee and get peace of mind in the car you really want.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Welcome back to the Jeff Cameron Show, sponsored by Legendary Home Loans, a mortgage experience designed around speed, simplicity, and customer service. Before you buy your next home, contact our friend Shannon Young with Legendary Home Loans. Visit FSUHomeLoans.com. FSUHomeLoans.com.
Our partnership with ISF, collaboration from ISF and the Jeff Cameron Show, and talk about what they do and what they have done. We give examples of that, and then we try to make it applicable to what we're talking about here in building Florida State, whether it be the athletic department or specific to football. You could use a lot of different examples that ISF has utilized and been a part of in previous operations, like the Department of State, Information Technology, Strategic Assessment and Planning. I'd like to do the assessment and planning here, Tom. They've done a good job with the assessment and planning. So, for example, ISF developed a strategic roadmap and specific actionable recommendation for the Florida Department of State, including identifying steps to kind of meet the future business requirements of the organization, whether that be network infrastructure, data security, you name it, hardware, system support, all those things that ISF can help with. And they come up with initiatives, in this case, 6 different initiatives and 20 prioritized projects. They have prioritized flipping this roster at Florida State, and there are a lot of guys that impressed us today. If you want, in the chat, ask about them. A lot of you have, to varying degrees. If we didn't cover a guy that you want to know about or you'd like to know more about today, feel free to fire away in the chat. Ask about him.
So there's one question I saved from last hour. It's more of an open-ended, but defensive end opposite Jared Verse. Is there enough depth for a rotation there with Edmond, Briggs, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, is it elite, though? I don't think so. I think they're going to make – it's going to be interesting. I think they're going to utilize guys well, first of all, opposite Verse is truly opposite Verse. What I mean is Verse is a type of player that is your more traditional fire off the ball, get after the passer, pass rusher, defensive end that you people drool over in the National Football League that change games, that get drafted in the first round. And then there are the other kinds of defensive ends. Your set the edge guys, you guys who are stout against the run. And Florida State's had several of those guys that are good players. They're not flashy. They're not dynamic. I think that's where Florida State still sits. There is not a counterpart to Jared Verse that is going to also meet in the middle the way that the dominant defenses of yesteryear used to do. They don't have that on the roster right now. We don't think.
I would say that the listings for the heights and weights on the website right now, Seminoles.com, I'm hoping that we get a handout when we go to the 11:30 Mike Norvell press conference. Typically we do with updated the size charts and what they've done. But I was impressed with what I saw out of Patrick Payton in terms of the shaping. He looks stronger. He looks like he's going to be a stronger player.
Got nowhere to go but up. He's
and
got to
that's
get bigger.
what he has to be, yes. So I'm looking to see if that's the case. Just to the eye test, he looks like he's going to have a little bit more to him. But I don't know that that's a 3-down defensive end that can set the edge opposite Verse. I don't think they're ready just yet. Edmond, you're right. There's a base there that you could put more weight on.
Got to get bigger.
And he could get a little bit bigger and stronger. McClendon is still going to be in that rotation, and Briggs, they're sliding inside. So the thing to look out for here is in certain down and distances, they might just call something different, but it's exactly the same. Like Adam Fuller was talking about experimenting with 3 defensive tackle fronts. Well, if Briggs is on the outside, that's the same thing that you were running last year against a run. If you have a 3 defensive tackle and verse on the field front and Briggs is on the edge, well, then he's your edge setting defensive end. So I think they can piecemeal it there.
Yes, they can.
And Peyton has a chance to take off. And I see that Byron Turner is another name that's come up. Physically impressive. It's just a matter of putting together a full camp healthy. And
need to see these guys in pads too, though. That's the other thing. I mean, that's one thing you are limited when we get out there and watching the tour of duty. It's shorts and T-shirts. So when we talk about guys off the edge and we talk about, added size or explosiveness, you want to see that against pads. You want to see it against quality competition, real offensive linemen, all that sort of thing. So it was tough to tell there. Somebody said, seriously, Travis J. He looked great today, but he always looks great. This is where he shines. I mean, you're not going to get too many people that are better athletes than Travis J. Period. He's a freak of an athlete. It's why we all long for him to get something out of it. So he looked great today. Noel Dad. He looked like a kid who's in great shape and has all of the tools. Jordan Travis was out there. He's gotten bigger. The lower body. He's gotten bigger. He's thicker in the legs.
He was bragging about his weight. He put out a photo or on Instagram or whatever at 209.1. He was listed at 212 last year. Okay. Well,
don't lose weight.
He's not celebrating losing weight. That 212 was always a farce, it would appear.
It was. Well, we knew that. But he looks thicker through the legs. George, I did not see Tafasi today. That's all I can say. I didn't see him today. Doesn't mean that. Listen, do not read into that.
No, looking forward to reporting on him.
Without question.
Yeah.
Without question.
That dude was a beast last year.
Well, and I'm counting on him too, buddy. I'm counting on him.
Was he part of the 5 that you were thinking?
Yeah, I like him.
Okay.
Oh, I think, buddy, I'm really excited about what he is, and I've since the day I saw him, I thought, okay, that's going to work. Farmer was out there looking huge.
Up top.
Oh,
much
he's
stronger.
Just big dude, man. He's gonna be fine. I'm telling you, they got a lot of guys.
He, Jackson, Lovett, Fisk. So your 5th would be Ao. See, mine would be Daniel Lyons. I'm looking forward to see him perform.
Well, in the interior, yeah. I mean, you also, let's not forget about Zero. We've got
Fabo.
You said Fabo.
Fabian
Okay,
Lovett.
yeah. Okay. Well, are you serious, Wilmer? You want me to comment on this? I will. If we were a high school team and we were getting off a bus and we wanted to wow our opponents and Stephen Dix Jr. was on my team, he would always be the first man off the bus. Always. And today was no different.
Even still with this roster, he would be one of your first 5 off the bus.
Yeah, he'd be on the short list, top 3 to walk off the bus. He looks amazing. Winston Wright looked great, was really able to put his weight on that knee.
Looks strong, too.
Shifty, strong. Really, more than anything else, I wanted to see, was he hesitant? He was not. These were drills, by the way, that if you were worried about your knee, you would have been hesitant. You would have revealed that you were worried about your knee because they did a lot of cutting today, and he was fine.
And just to the naked eye for me, too, it didn't look like he was rehabbing and one leg is fully developed and the other is, coming along.
Yeah,
like
he looked balanced.
He looks balanced. Yeah. That's a really hard thing to accomplish.
Yeah. He looked great. There were no hitches in the giddy up or anything like that.
I have been mentally, internally poo-pooing the idea of him being in the rotation because it's just, you got to see it. But after today, okay. All right. he could be easily in that rotation now at slot.
I want to circle back really quickly because I feel like I maybe have done Stephen Dix Jr. a little bit of a disservice. If you remember last year, prior to him getting hurt, he had made progress. Now, his biggest problem is he doesn't have the hips. He's not a fluid player. He's unfortunately, he has the body type of an NFL football player, but lacks the instincts and the fluidity. Hey, listen, we're talking about the creme de la creme in the National Football League. There are very few people who can play at the next level, and that's a big part of it because you could have all the other things. You could have work ethic, you could have toughness, you could have size, you could have straight ahead speed. But if you lack the side-to-side or you don't have the instincts for the position or whatever it might be, you come up short. And those are the areas where he has always come up short. Because to look at him, you'd think he's in the league. He's destined for the league. And that's still true. To look at him, you think he's destined for the league. But I don't want to pretend like he hadn't gotten better last year at playing the position of linebacker before he got hurt. And you can always use a guy like that in special teams to blow things up. I would not want to see that dude coming at me running full force straight ahead, blowing up the mini wedges we see of today. There aren't wedges like there used to be, but you know what I mean.
But that's a lane you would avoid as a returner.
Oh, I would want no part of that. I mean, so let me give him a little bit of credit there. A little bit of credit.
We have a question about who was number 10. If you're talking about in white, that was DJ Lundy, who is massive.
He's a big dude, yeah.
Very stout. Spark plug, right? Is that what you said?
I said that's what we said about the other guy.
Omar Graham.
Yeah, Omar Graham. Yeah. Spark plug is right.
I mean, that fits the mold of what DJ Lundy looks like. Yeah, that's spark plug interior guy.
Yeah, linebacker's the area I'm most concerned about. I don't love what we are at linebacker. And I think when we compare position groups to the best, where we're trying to get to, I think that's an area that you would say they got to get a lot better.
That's a fun exercise, maybe in the ilk of an ISF exercise. But if you did a snake draft of position groups, back and forth.
Based on quality?
Yeah. Linebacker is probably the one that, at the end, there you go.
Yeah, I don't want to get stuck in that part of the draft. I'm not a fan. I think that we're average at best at linebacker.
Who would you take if you had to pick number 1 overall?
Position group?
Yes, number 1 overall in a snake draft. So then I get 2. So you got to make a good choice here. What position group would you go with number 1?
Offensive line.
What a statement.
I know.
Let that silence, speak for itself.
Offensive line. They got legitimately 12 guys to fit 5 spots. And they're all 12 viable answers. Now, there are guys amongst the 12 that I like more than others. Obviously, there's a hierarchy. But even if you wanted to put it more bluntly, they got 10 really good options. 12 passable options, 10 really, really good options for 5 spots.
12 passable options would be, by definition from 3 years ago, really good passable would be really good. That would be an improvement that you couldn't fathom 3 seasons ago. I think we won't go through the whole snake draft. I think the next 2
we'll go ahead.
Would be defensive interior specifically, and then running back.
Running back.
Yeah.
I think running back.
Snake draft. So I get 2. It doesn't matter which. Yeah.
Those are the right 2. Those are the right 2.
Running back.
You're going to force me then to take wide receiver.
Oh, we're going. All right.
No. You're going to force me to take wide receiver at that point.
Yep.
Okay, now you're under pressure now because this is going to get interesting.
Well, you get 2 though. Wide receiver. It's a snake. So.
Well, because I have options, not because of production, but because I have options. At that point, I'm probably going secondary.
Okay. Well, then tight end, defensive end, I guess. But tight end,
I like tight end.
I got good value.
You got good value in tight end right there. I took a risk on secondary there.
Yep.
All right, you go tight end and defensive end. You see where we're going, folks? Have you noticed nobody's mentioned linebackers?
And quarterback doesn't count in this discussion. It's Jordan. That's it.
Yeah. And then I'm probably looking at special teams. So Jeff Cameron Show 93.3 Real Talk Radio. I do want to say thanks to our friends at ISF. I enjoy this little exercise and trying to make it applicable here. And today's was assessment and planning. And I want to say bravo to this coaching staff for their assessment of the roster that we're discussing and the planning that they put in to overhaul said roster and get it to a place where I could say with a straight face on the Jeff Cameron Show that I would draft offensive line first of the segment groups we have based on depth, talent, diversity of player. It's nuts. I just want to repeat that over and over again. It just makes me smile. I've never been able to say it. Never. It's awesome. Jeff Cameron Show 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
Thomasville Fire Rescue is warning the Thomasville community about a text message scam. TFR says the scam consists of a text message advertising Thomasville Fire Rescue hoodies for sale. The text message also includes a link to place an order. TFR says the message is not an official message from the fire station and encourages people to not respond or place an order. Another scam making its rounds in Leon County. The Leon County Sheriff's Office is warning the community about a jury duty scam call. The jury duty scam has resurfaced and someone is calling pretending to be with the LCSO. The scammers tell their victims they have an arrest warrant out for them because they missed jury service for the month. They also inform the victims that they must pay a certain amount to have the warrants dismissed. LCSO commented on their Facebook, "The scam is circling again. We will never, ever call and ask you for money to settle a warrant. Hang up, even if they say they are from LCSO or TPD. Make sure to hang up." This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 Local News Update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MaclemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. A wind advisory begins at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning and continues until 10 p.m. tomorrow night. Chance for scattered thunderstorms this afternoon, otherwise cloudy skies. Highs around 81, south winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Cloudy tonight, 67. Chance for scattered storms again tomorrow, 81. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 79.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future. My man, Eddie.
Jeff, what's happening, dude?
Bears eating people all over the place. I read another article today. It's the third one in the last month of somebody getting mauled to death by a bear.
Man, bears have their own space.
Well,
you got to let them have that.
You do. You got to stay clear of bears, is what you're saying?
Yes.
I got a question for you. Here you go. If you had to be mauled to death, eaten alive by any animal in the world, which would you choose to eat you alive?
Ooh, I think maybe I'd want, I don't know, longevity time, a mouse.
Just a slow burn.
Slow burn.
This thing just finished the pinky. It's been a month.
I could go to work. I could still do my thing. I could probably live 30 years.
I thought you were going to say great white because it'd be quick, or a grizzly. We went with mouse.
Yeah, mouse.
Okay. Mouse it is. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
Found our W's and L's. I have a feeling we're going to have to get a hold of ourselves before we do W's and L's now that we've been out there to see some of these monsters in the trenches.
Yeah, because it is glorified combine work today, and the real stuff begins kind of, sort of next week, but then it really, really begins after spring break the week after. That's acclimation period being in the past.
Cue up the tub. Let's hear the bubbles and discuss our friends at Pinch a Penny.
It's time for Tub Talk, brought to you by Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas. Buy yourself the hot tub you've always wanted at the price you've always wanted from Pinch a Penny on Greer Street. Now it's live to the tub.
If I were in a hot tub, giant whirlpool of sorts, I probably wouldn't be talking about how I wanted to purchase a hot tub, because I'd be in it and I would have already done it. So it makes for weird tub talk when I tell you that
the other day when I went by Pinch and Penny and I saw that showroom floor, buddy. Man, it's like I want to call Tom and be like, hey, man, meet me at the Pinch and Penny. Let's just walk around. A lot of cool stuff there. I was blown away. Over 50 hot tubs in stock. You walk in, you're like, look at all these damn hot tubs. I could stay the night here.
Don't worry, you're only 50 reads away from being able to get one.
You should just show up. You don't need to call out there and ask him anything. Just show up out there and go, holy moly. It's amazing. It is. It is amazing. They're on Greer Street. Go check them out. I'm not even kidding. Blow you away. And I was surprised by how affordable they are.
That phrase, they'll blow you away, is always a winner. No matter when you phrase it, how you phrase it. Yeah. Our old general manager once upon a time, very Tub Talk sidebar here. We had a t-shirt company that he would do reads for so we could get some station t-shirts.
Sure.
And one of the reads was start the new year with a bang. And then there was a big explosion. But then another one was they'll blow you away. And it's like,
man.
A shirt company? It's
really?
Gonna blow me away.
Their shirts.
All right.
Their shirts.
Should have used the Tommy gun noise.
Oh, man. I'm excited to start talking about the NFL draft. I'm excited to see what happens with the combine. And you've got the those that are falling, those that are rising. How exciting is it, buddy?
Got to start talking to friends of ours for these events. You mentioned yesterday the draft party, which we really enjoy. Well, Major League Baseball opening day is...
Holy moly.
What is it?
Coming up.
A few weeks from... 4 weeks from today.
Yeah, I'm going to one spring training game. Going to try to get to two. Don't want to miss out. My brother went out to the Innings Fest out there in Arizona that Vetter was playing at, and Black Crows and a bunch of bands, and then you get to take in a bunch of spring training games. I was like, that's all right.
Seems like the Arizona one always does better than the Tampa one in terms of the acts. But Tampa didn't have a bad list of artists in terms of prestige. Dave Matthews was one of them. I mean, not my cup of tea as much as some others, but that's definitely a headliner.
Sure. Yeah, no, I'll be going in, taking in some Pirates action against the Braves. Don't worry, Braves fans. I'll root for a lot of injuries for your team while I'm there. I'm kidding. I said it to be an ass. You know better than that.
Hey, man, I'm on camera. I've got to have the good karma. Can't root. Mets fans can't root for injuries anywhere else because the baseball gods just throw them down in threes.
I'm not rooting for an injury to the Braves. I'm not broken up about it if we're to happen.
The director was doing a dance in the green room.
He was rooting for. He is rooting because they have a chance to win. My team doesn't have a chance to win.
We got a chance.
P. Simpson writes, Jeff's going to retire from radio and start slinging hot tubs. I think I could. I could sling a hot tub. I don't plan on retiring from radio in order to sling hot tubs, but it would be funny if years from now, one of you listeners walked in and I'm like, how are you? Good to see you. Come on in. Let's look at the tubs. Let's look at the tubs. Jeff, I wondered what happened when you walked away from the radio. I've been slinging tubs. You wouldn't believe it. These things fly off the shelves.
Have you seen Jeff lately? Yeah, he's at the Pinch a Penny. Always starts off with the pitch.
He's excited.
Says, now, do you like jets?
This one's got 98 jets. Also, by the way, you can focus these jets to certain areas of the tub. So if it's just you and not one of your 6 or 7 companions that this whirlpool could fit, you can have all the juice just on you. Let me show you how we do it. That could kill you.
If you're not careful.
Yeah,
but
that's how
sir,
much power we have.
You're strong enough.
Yeah.
You can handle it. Look at you.
Oh, I missed it. I apologize. Eric writes, Thirsty Hour, Jeff and Tom tour of tour of
Link Jarrett.
Okay.
The old combination.
Yeah. Noles baseball. MLB season. 28 days from today. Go Noles. Spring is here. Yes. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate that. And defensive end appropriate. Opposite verse we did answer. Okay. So I didn't miss anything else there. I was worried that I missed stuff, guys.
You got a sleeper that you like on this roster? Have you picked your guy yet? Like, for example, last year, A.Z. Thomas, Rodney Hill, very much favored by the folks here. in this here studio.
Yeah, we love those guys.
Rodney looks good, for those wondering, those worried.
I don't have a sleeper. I mean, the guys I like are the guys everybody likes. I mean, I will tell you that I think
don't worry out there. Rodney's fine, everybody.
Yeah, he is.
Going to be okay.
Yeah. I don't think I have a sleeper because, I think my sleepers are guys that are all well known and people are excited about. Like, I think Jaheim Bell looks like he's going to be a star. And this offense, the way they're going to use that position, he and Morlock both are going to do some good things here.
We could assemble on Thursday's show next week because practices are in the afternoon. So that's the one downside to spring is we'll get you the next day on what we saw.
Yeah.
And maybe next Thursday, I tamp down the enthusiasm. I'm already on that. Lucas Simmons could play now.
But he doesn't need to, Tom.
He doesn't need. No, I think if he's got the technical ability down, that frame is just, that's going to cut you. You're going to cut the line with that frame. You're going to. He is massive. And the lower half is already developed and ready for, in my opinion, Power 5 football. Just a matter of technique and then strength up top.
Yeah, again, in terms of sleepers, I don't really know that I have a guy, but I would tell you that it will be interesting to see what they do with KJ Kirkland. Because that's a big freshman, man. That at the position that he plays, that's a big freshman. I don't know. That could interest me.
20 seconds, but I wanted to find his listing because it sounded smaller than he appeared.
Yeah, no, he looks dense for his size. Good work out of you. Good work, Director Matthew. Thanks to all of you for listening. We really do appreciate it. We'll be back with you tomorrow on a Libations Friday. Should be a lot of fun. We'll have talk with the coaches from the luncheon and be able to react to that on the Jeff Cameron Show.
6'1", 186. He looks larger than that, doesn't
He's
he?
a lot bigger than that. Yeah, I think that thing is way off.